here we go. And some of the people who won sent me some messages saying, you know, I have this kind of guitar and this situation. So I'm kind of aware of some of it, but so you know, I can't really remember what they sent me. There was so much going on. Just to make sure that there's nothing. By the way, whoever this is, you packed this guitar exceptionally well to the point where, like, I'm gonna say Sweetwater quality. It is a Gretsch. All right, on a Gretsch Electromatic. It's made in China. Mahogany body, mahogany neck. I'm going to visually inspect it. Kind of like if you guys have my PDF on my inspection form, I'm kind of going through that. I don't have one in front of me because I've been doing this long enough that I kind of just remember looking for loose input jacks, loose knobs that may fall off, checking the switch, looking for dents, scratches, dings on the headstock. Now there's certain dents and dings when you're looking at a guitar for the first time, whether you're going to buy it or you just got it, that you want to pay attention to because they imply impacts that have possible horrible repercussions for the guitar. Headstock dings might be as simple as they hit a ceiling fan or hit the side of a cymbal or something like that, but it also might mean that the guitar took a nosedive on the ground or was hit and caused a flex in the neck that was so dramatic that causes a couple things. One, the truss rod to kind of spin out and then that needs to have its tension put back, or if they use a scarf joint, sometimes it can cause a hairline crack there or hairline cracks where the neck is glued to the body. This guitar, the only thing I see visually where the neck is shrunk just a little bit, see right there, and the frets did not. So the polyurethane finish on the guitar is being pushed away, and that's why you see those kind of, see these tan, almost like it looks like air pockets. It's not air, it's just the frets have pushed away, and where's the, and right there, a little bit is chipped off. Is that the end of the world? Not at all. It's got Filtertron pickups, so I don't know why I wouldn't want to change those. So, action is a little high. We'll check the measurements when I go through the official. We're gonna go, and the next step is I'm gonna put it on the bench. We'll go through it. This is the visual inspection. The nut looks like some kind of Corian. It could be plastic. And the tuning keys are Kluson copies, not actual Klusons. That's what we're gonna get rid of. We're gonna put some good locking keys on here. Since the GraphTech guys mentioned they're gonna help out, I'm gonna request a nut and some new locking ratio tuners to put on this guitar. That'll improve a lot of stuff. It's a little out of tune, but it just came out of a box, right? And we'll check the intonation, but my guess is the pickups are gonna sound fine. We're gonna go performance on this kind of Sharpen My Axe episode. To understand Gretsch, you really just need to understand this. It's a performance-driven instrument like the 80s shredders guitars. You know, and the idea that a Gretsch, it does what like Gibsons do, it does what Hagstroms, it does what other kind of cool vintagey vibing guitars do, but then it's got these amazing tremolos for this great music, like anything from surf rock to country twang to anything in between to rock and roll. And so we're gonna make this guitar not go out of tune. So first thing we're gonna do is replace this bridge. So here's your original bridge. It's nothing special. And what's great is on these bridges, whether you realize or not, they're stamped underneath. So let me show you that right there. And what this is stamped with is TABR-1. What does that mean to you? It means you can go onto GraphTech's website, look that up, and find the appropriate replacement bridge or parts. Now, here are two identical bridges, but one is going to fit this guitar and one is not. In this particular case, it is this bridge. So we were able to line it up. Now, why is that important? Well, if you get the wrong kind of bridge, not only we have some problems of alignment, mostly you're gonna have to drill new holes and install new studs. Oops. But in this video, what I wanted to do was keep this pretty simple. You have two options. So let me show you your option. Option one, you can just use this new bridge to replace the old one because it fits perfectly. Or you can do what I'm going to do, which is remove the posts and insert the new post. Now you can pull these plugs out. They're very easy. But we're not gonna do it because we don't need to. Look, we just thread this one in. Look at that. And then just keep the original posts in case these ever have trouble. Let's say in a year or so you don't love this guitar anymore and you decide to sell it. Well, now what you can do is take your really nice, expensive bridge out and have that for your next guitar, or resell it and put the old bridge back in. Again, a lot of times it's a really nice option to be able to put the guitars to original form, because when you upgrade guitars, one of the downfalls is people don't want to pay for your upgrades. So if a guitar is worth $300 but you put $250 worth of upgrades in it, people still really expect to pay about $300 to $330 bucks. So what's so special about this version? Well, as you can see, these have Graphtec saddles on them and they are basically zero friction. So they're good to go. Plus the other advantage of this is we can use our trusty caliper here. And since this guitar was actually pretty much perfectly intonated when I started, that's a good starting point. All we use is take the back of the bridge, and we can measure the distance between where this saddle starts, and it's a little hard for me to do it for the camera, but you get the idea. You measure that gap between, and this will not be intonated correctly. That's not what I'm saying. So please don't start loading in the comments right now. What I'm telling you is this is gonna get you close when you do the fine tuning later. So you don't have to start from absolute zero. Line that up. We'll do that to all the saddles, and you drop it in. And what's great about that is you might get lucky. It might be close to intonated right there. So the next upgrade we're gonna do is we're gonna replace the tuning keys. And again, we're gonna use the ratio keys. I've done a video on that. You can see how to install these. These are some of my favorite, if not my most favorite, locking key around, where each gear has its own different gear ratio. We're going to add a Tusq nut. Again, everything with the idea to keep this guitar in tune. So we're gonna remove the friction from this point and this point. We're gonna put locking keys on it, and we're gonna polish the frets. And then electronics wise, I'm gonna leave things alone, except for I think we may make a couple quick modifications. We're gonna check a few things. We'll do the electronics last, so that shouldn't be a big deal. The Bigsby, same thing. A lot of people will say, hey, what about upgrading to a, this is the licensed, aftermarket Bigsby. I've never had a problem with them. Some people say they can't stay in tune. Some people say other things. I find that staying in tune usually has everything to do with friction. Remove friction and let the string get back to where it wants. One of the things that stings about Bigsby's, if you know, is that when you do stuff like this, move around, they'll flop around and hit things. So this is a great way to stop that from happening, and it lets us hold the guitar upside down and take a look at it. We're gonna look at those tuning keys. Okay, so when dealing with the new tuning keys, what you'll notice is the holes are drilled out for the original tuning keys, which were made for these plugs, right? So it goes, that's the original tuning key, it's gonna look like that. So it's this size plug. And if you take that plug and you compare it to the outer shaft on this tuning key, you'll notice that it's almost there. Look at that line up. Let's do that. There you go, see that? In other words, if you look at this, they're almost the same diameter, but you can see with the teeth there, they made it just a little shallow. So here are your choices. You can take your drill press out and you can drill press the holes out. I highly recommend that. However, it's such a small amount, and a lot of that is caked on paint and junk in there. You get yourself just a nice reamer, get a quality one. So one of the ways to figure out how big the hole needs to be is you take the reamer and stick it in the original hole, like so. So we have right there. And just go ahead and eyeball it, and I go up about 1/8 of an inch. Set that, and you could do it, there's all kinds of other ways to do it, but this is just, again, you're just going off the idea that you just need it slightly bigger. And let me show you the difference. So same thing, you just kind of do that. And what's kind of nice is that's only gonna do one side, so you come up from the behind and you do the other side. The new tuning key drops in perfectly fine. Now there's little teeth there that's stopping it from going down, but that's about the right depth. So you can do it that way. You go from the other side and you got that. So again, a reamer is sometimes a quick tool that you can get effectively. You don't have to worry about, now watch what's nice about this is you have control of it, you turn it smoothly. You don't have to worry about, like with the drill press, maybe grabbing and biting onto this paint and chipping it. You have total control, go slow and smooth as you want. Again, a drill press I think is a better tool. I'd rather use my drill press. It's a little faster for me too, to be honest with you, but this gets the job done, and I've not had any issues with the tuning keys not fitting snugly in there. Just go a little at a time. So now we're going to replace the nut, and there's a couple different techniques. I've done some videos in the past you've seen where I show you how to remove a nut. This guitar is a little different, so let me show you. First, we want to remove the truss rod cover. Now, if you saw how I did the Strat one, I used pliers and I kind of pulled it straight up. This guitar, we're going to do something different. Now, I'm using this, it looks like a scraper. It's just something it's a tool I'm comfortable with. It's really thick. It's not thin like an actual scraper, like a razor blade. It's actually really thick, and it has a good handle, a good source, and I've been using this for years. And I use a soft hammer. This is like a fretting hammer. And I basically will line this up just right there, and I'm gonna get ever so lightly the lightest tap. That's it. And then I kind of feel it, see if I can push on a little bit, pop it, and it's smooth. Look at that, it came kind of clean and smooth off, no issues. Now sometimes you can, if you're afraid of the lacquer or the polyurethane, you can use a hairdryer or a heat gun, kind of warm it up, make it a little bit more malleable. So the next thing we do is I'm going to show you, this is the original nut, and this is the new Tusq one. And you can hear how glass-like the Tusq one is versus this plastic one. So this is a harder material, it's more glass-like, and it's going to give us more resonance because it's going to transform more vibrations in the guitar. So when it's your first time putting in a new nut on the guitar, there's a couple things I want you to have, some tips that I like. The first thing when sanding is use a high grit paper. It's easier to keep taking material away than it is to add material back. The other thing that's important is the surface. You want to use a really flat surface. I use this steel bar, and you can use a steel bar as well, but whatever it is, you want to put a level on it. You want to make sure it's super, super flat. So I use this bar and I put the sandpaper right on top of it, and you hold it firmly and you sand back and forth. It seems silly maybe, but to be honest with you, you'd be surprised how easy it is on any surface, no matter what you think of, whether it's your bench or a table, that you'll become very uneven on the bottom, and you need this to be very, very flat, perfectly flat. So that's why I use it this way. This is the way I prefer to do it, and just very calmly hold it firm, and you gotta press, and here's why you have to press down hard. It sounds silly, like of course I'm pressing down, but you really need to press down hard, and the reason you want to press down hard is because whether you realize it or not, it's very easy for your hand to kind of lean and push pressure to one side and kind of make this, so you want to take and push firmly downward, and it makes it harder for you to make that kind of a boat shape at the bottom. And you can also put it on your flat surface and see, can you rock it? Can you rock it side to side? Can you rock it back and forth? This is something that it's really easy to figure out. And if your surface is flat, you'll be able to tell. So same thing. And then you want to line them up with the old nut, especially if the old nut was fine. And again, make sure there's no gaps in there between those two. Make sure they're lining up great. I took the pickguard off to look at the electronics. Let's take a look at this. And what's interesting is there's a lot of good stuff here. The potentiometers seem fine. I mean, you could upgrade to a more high-end potentiometer, but there's nothing wrong with these. The input jack actually feels pretty good too. Everything seems fine. What I'm gonna use is some deoxit, just because we're here, and we're gonna go ahead and shoot some in there. Make a little mess. We'll clean it up, I promise. Work those out just because we're in there. It's kind of like, hey, because we went in the electronics, we didn't have any issues. There was no crackling issues that I was aware of, but now there's definitely not. For you guys, always make sure you take your cell phones out and you take pictures of everything. Anything you remove from a guitar, take a picture of it. Anything you're gonna put on the guitar, take a picture of it. The way the guitar was, take a picture of it. There's a reason why I tell everyone to please take pictures of your stuff. What happens to a lot of you guys that are trying to start do-it-yourself? You start a project and then you can't remember which way it goes, and you put it together and there's a little bit of paranoia. Are you putting it together the right way? And if something doesn't feel right, first you become very sensitive to things, so you may think it doesn't feel right and it does, or it may not feel right, but you don't know if it's something you did or something that happened along the way. And what happens is then you bring it to your shop and you have the luthier or tech do the repair work. And I've had a lot of that over the years. People are like, hey, I tried to do it myself and I can't remember which way it goes. I can't remember which way it was. And you end up paying the labor service. And what's sad is, in most cases, you may have only messed up one thing, but taking pictures helps you. And if you do have to take it to a repair center, that picture will also help you there. Hey. And what we want to do is take the low E string and the high E string. This is how we're going to decide how the nut needs to be set up. We're going to put a little tension on each side. This two strings, the reason why we have to do this at the same time like I'm doing, is they're holding down the nut. There's no glue, there's nothing to hold the nut back or in place. This is how we're going to figure out how to cut the nut the rest of the way. I don't even need to put the rest of the strings on to know I need to continue sanding this a little bit, and we're gonna go ahead and do that. Yes. Okay, let's tune her up. Now, if you notice that I still haven't glued the nut on, don't worry about that. We're not gonna do that until the guitar is actually ready. That's the last thing we're gonna do. We're gonna use the strings to hold the nut down. I will tell you this, when I'm tuning this guitar now, it is, between these ratio tuners, we'll call it the Graphtec package. Between the bridge, the nut, and these tuners, it's like heaven tuning. I mean, everything. Now, one thing that's happened is we've lowered the action a little bit. I kind of anticipated that. We're gonna go ahead and lower this pickup. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so if this is your first time gluing a nut on, I'm gonna give you the two versions, the ways most people do it. You can super glue it. However you super glue it, what you wanna do is put 2 dots, one on each side, and that's it. A light dot, because you saw how I removed the nut. You wanna be able to remove it every time just by using a little force, and too much super glue, it'll just make that impossible. What will happen is you'll have to Dremel out the entire nut. It's a disaster. I personally do not like the super glue, so it's not my preference, but tons of people use it. I remove tons of nuts off the guitars with that. What I use is Tightbond, the original, but you know, you can use the newer versions, and a toothpick. I don't use very much. I just apply a little bit on both sides, very lightly, but covering the entire area. You might get a little bit on the strings right here. Try to keep them out of the way. If you're really nervous about that, some people obviously don't want the glue on their strings, you can use all kinds of things to make sure the strings don't touch. You can even use cardboard. Use the piece of cardboard like so, and create yourself a little bridge. I've done that many times, see? And it'll keep them away. Just crimp the cardboard. You see what I'm doing, I'm sure. And this comes up with a damp cloth, so it's water soluble. And then once I covered, again, a light coat, very light, 100% of the area, I use just a little bit to do the same thing to the nut. And again, it's so thin, if you feel like you can't see it, that's the right amount. And I like the toothpick because I kind of use it as like a scraper. Go ahead and place that in here. And no matter what you do, I always find a little bit squeezes out. That's fine. And then go ahead and remove your guard and start putting your strings down. The other thing I like about toothpicks that's great is you can take the side you didn't use, break it off, or use a new one, it's up to you, and use it to actually remove the glue. Scrape all that old glue out of there. All right, so when I was putting the guitar back together, what I noticed was he has the standard strap button for the Gretsch right here, but then he had a different one here, and when you look in the back, he looks like he's re-drilled some holes, probably because he's ripped the strap buttons off or he's had some kind of issue. And I thought, you know what, let's give him some strap locks. So I got some, these are Warwick strap locks. These are really nice. They're basically like the Schaller strap locks. The Schaller and the Dunlop ones are the ones I like. I bought Warwick, so you know, only because the Warwick guys, you know, sent me to GetCon, and they've been really, Hans and those guys have been fantastic to me, so I thought might as well support them by buying these instead. So I'm just letting you know, any of the other brands will be fine. I just, you know, brand loyalty to a company that's been good to me. I bought Warwick ones. right, guys, so now the guitar is all put together. As you can see, it is beautiful. So we added the locking strap locks, so he has those, so the guitar won't go anywhere now. We have a new Graphtec Tusq nut, the ratio locking keys, as you can see right there, that are beautiful and look perfect. A new bridge with Graphtec graphite saddles on it. And I decided, his switch at first I didn't know if I liked, and I was thinking about replacing it, but what was great was, after I cleaned it, it felt a lot better, and I added, to be more cool like a Gretsch, a metal chrome tip, more like what a Gretsch would really have instead of the plastic black one. So let's give some sound samples. We'll go to clean. Here we go. So it's got a big boomy sound. Now, I know a lot of these videos you guys want sound samples before and after, and I did make the mistake on the first one I did. On this guitar, there wasn't really a big reason to, because it's not a sound change to the guitar. The guitar sounds the same. The pickups sound the same. If there is a slight difference in sound, it wouldn't be enough to come through by adding these components. What you are noticing is that it's stability and tuning. So you can get that kind of cool. So in that middle position, it's got this kind of. Let's knock it out of tune. So there you have it. This is the number 3 of the Sharpen My Axe contest, and I'm really thankful that all of the winners were gracious enough to send me their beautiful guitars that they love, and let me do some things to them. I hope they enjoy what I did to this guitar. I had fun doing it, and at the end of this video will be a list of all the things that are used in this video, and some of the other interesting information that you might find relevant. And as always, until next time, know your gear.